Alright, so we're coming to just put out a survey for PvP, and even though I haven't PvP'd since like Generation 4, I still want to give input on it because there are a lot of flaws that make that experience, in my opinion, unenjoyable. And since I don't know the current state of PvP, I'll have to let someone else take over for that and correct me if I'm wrong about something. But I'm just gonna go through this, answer everything honestly, maybe point out some things that definitely could use improvements. Well, let's start. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you like attacking other players? Uh, in its current state, I'm gonna have to say 1. Because you have so much things with so much range, so much things that increase range, you're pretty much getting blown up at the entrance. You're losing things before you even get to start doing anything. And that used to not be the case. Because, like, before things had 2 billion range, you could actually move your things around, plan accordingly, but now it's just you need something that can take a crap ton of hits, and if it's not taking those hits, it's long gone. If it's not doing enough damage, GG's at that point. Would you like more competitive PvP activities? Sure, because Warpath, that one was a goated event. Still wish they had dropped like more legendary uniques in that. I think the last one we saw was Bounty Hunter, and before that was like either I think it was like Phantom or Legion. It was like long, long time ago. Let's see, how often do you attack other players per week, not including Warpath or Sector Breach? 0. There's like there's pretty much no incentive in my opinion, because like yeah, you got PvP units, you got Sector Breach. Those things give units and whatnot, but at the same time, it's like you get medals and blood thorium. Blood thorium, I want to say it's useful for like techs for the PvP units, but at the same time, do you really need them? Is it really worth grinding for all that? When you got medals, you can easily obtain that with ease from daily missions and from other sources that are like 50 times better than PvP, so there's pretty much no point in that regard. Given a few tries, how often are you able to destroy a whole base when you attack? I'ma admit, well, okay, so I haven't exactly attacked anyone since I came back, since I'm still trying to build up everything. And I know that my units are just getting folded the second I try to attack anything. So I'm gonna base this on my last experience, which was around Series 1. Yeah, probably around there. And so I think maybe like half the time I was able to do that. But I'm just gonna have to rare, say rarely, to be honest. Because like I don't exactly have, even when I was able to PvP, it wasn't exactly like game changing. I lost a lot of stuff, even on like some crazy easy bases. But since they had a unit that just shreds everything, that one unit alone just ruins PvP. And that seems to be the case in a lot of moments where you just have that one unit that just shreds everything, whether it's on attack or defense. And sometimes they release a unit for offense that is just beyond broken and just makes the game completely unplayable for PvP. Like you either abuse that thing, you have no counter to it. Like I don't. Okay, when it comes to balancing, that's the main thing that I really wish they could get right when it comes to PvP. Because I'm not a big fan of the whole pendulum swing where it tilts one side to attack or one side to defender. Because they don't know how to. Even if they did the pendulum swing, they don't even do that right. They tilt it way, way, way too far. And we've seen this in multiple cases, like penance, controllers. Those things were nightmares. Then can't think of. Well, actually, yeah. No, we'll use those examples for now because I will admit Darkstorm was pretty fire, and it could go both ways. Uh, what do you like about attacking other players and why? Ooh, I'll admit, I love the thrill that it gives because PvP competitiveness, I love that. I love that in a lot of games. But when you're unable to compete in any aspect, it just becomes frustrating. Oh, aces. Those were another ones that were annoying to deal with, even though you had like counters to it. The second, okay, high altitude units, good concept, but when you don't have anything that shoots at high altitude units or has enough damage to actually make them weak to it, it is frustrating. I have no clue how they managed to release high altitude units and then have no counter to them, or barely any counter to them. Them buzzsaws, holy cow. The only thing it killed, Legendary Phantom, anything else, that thing was dog water. All the thrill that it gives. Yeah, I'll just keep it at that to be honest. Cause like, yeah, I think you know why. Competitive aspect. We've been working hard to lock down exploits and ban cheaters, and we need your help narrowing down how it affects PvP experience. To that end, we would like to hear people's current feelings, not including stories you've heard from other players. How many times have you personally experienced cheating in the last month? Since I haven't played in the last month, 0 times. In what ways have you personally seen players cheat? Do you know they did the cheat? Am I able to skip these? Oh, I already answered that. Oh no, it's important. Marked important, marked important. Okay, so that doesn't even matter. No ways have nah, I haven't seen anything to be honest. Apart from cheating, what feels unfair in PvP? Is it unit structure or tech? Please specify which one and why. I'm about to go on a whole rant about this. Units have too much range. The second you actually try to hit a base, you have to move instantly. You don't have time to prep. And I think all of that started around. It all came down to like base expansions, to be honest. Because with base expansions, people had their things, they were able to spread them out, got bunkers that pretty much were able to sit at the corners, but at the same time, you had like at least something to deal with those things. Whereas now, it's like every single infantry, it will just blast you to smithereens. And I want to mention that mines, alright, so mines I don't mind if you can pretty much get blown up from spawning on those, because for one, you can actually have units that can deal with mines, whereas a bunker, you're pretty much going to have a unit made for that entire purpose. And if it's not the right, if you're going up against like, alright, so since there's the matchups, if your thing has a certain weakness to what's in the bunker, on top of the modifiers that the bunker gives, and then the buffs that the other aspects in the base gives, dead. Might as well not even bother. And this is all speculation from all the changes that they've been making, since I don't know how that's changed as they've done that. However, when I last played, Nightmare, Nightmare Fuel. I really, really hated controllers. And anything that had range, where two bunkers just watch one spot, that was so annoying. And their solution, penance. Why? Alright, why make a problem that has no counter or limited counters and then release a unit like penance? Like, okay, they're the two, they're both in the same generation. Controllers, penance, same generation. Controls made things heavily defense sided. Penance made everything attack sided. in a painful way. Cause why? Armor up. And since they've started moving away from armor up and toning it down, they've gone to flat damage reduction. To some degree, I can see it not being bad, but then when you have units, okay, on standard units, I don't believe armor up and flat damage reduction should be on them. And if they are, they have to be at like a lower amount. Something that doesn't just kill every other unit. Uniques, they can be busted as much as they want, because they're uniques. And uniques need to be unique, they need to have a purpose, they need to be as good as they once were back in Generation 4, before they became extremely useless, not even needed, which is optional, but at the same time, Perseus, I had so much hope for that unit, it became a disappointment. War Barge, I saw potential in it, that thing folded, and became even worse when Akuma came out and just melted everything known to mankind. But uniques, like Adam, Sarkis, they can have all that damage reduction, all that tanking ability that they need to be viable as a unique. They can have that. I don't mind about that. They can have that. Standard units should not have that. It makes attacking and defending so much more aids when a standard unit has this. And especially when they have so much range, barely any weaknesses. It is a nightmare. And then another thing that I want to bring up is that newer players, they're stuck with the crap that they have. Another issue that War Commander has is making it so that the new command center is the be all end all solution, which is something that I mentioned in the last video with Spec Ops and reinforcements buildings. Should not be the case. Why do you have to have the highest level command center just to be able to do anything? You need the highest level command center and then the highest level academy just to upgrade your units to max, which doesn't sound bad if you think about it, but then when you execute it in this style, where the new event unit has to have that criteria, and when it's happening every command center, where it's like, oh, the unit that just came out for the last command center, yeah, that thing sucks now. You gotta upgrade to the new one, get the newest levels to the buildings, upgrade those units, and then boom. I was gonna say you're caught up in terms of PvP, but you still got the defense lab. Those turrets that you had before, and they're trash. Here's five more levels to your turrets, to your not command center, to your defense lab, to all these other defensive structures that you have to upgrade. It does not have to be that way. You can have turrets, buildings, and other stuff still be viable. Well, you should have them viable, even at a lower level, just not have them be exceptionally insane in a lot of situations. For example, the napalm turret. Way back then, that thing melted everything. Well, maybe not everything, but a lot of things. However, it couldn't hit air, but you could make that up with units that can shoot at air, or a heavy turret that shoots air. Something like a flak or a hunter turret, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be insane. Hunter turret's specific focus is burst damage. High damage to a much bigger HP enemy is worthwhile. It is balanced, because flak is not made to do that. The moment flak starts tearing up uniques, that's when you have an issue, because that's when you start merging two things that should not be merged. Because like, well, napalm melted things, you still had tech that reduced fire damage. You still had things that could handle napalm. Then you have things like the Corpus lead turret. That thing was great against a lot of things, to be honest. That's an issue because it's a multi-target sustained turret and then melts uniques. You either have it good against multiple targets, weak against one, or make it strong against one but weak against all, making it so that it's in the new spot where you don't want to fight multiple targets at once. You just want to fight one and make sure you shred that thing. However, you don't want to make it way too strong because then you, you get a lot of issues. But then another thing happens with turrets is that you should be able to shock them. You should be able to do scramble. You should be able to do something to them. Things that are inherently immune to all these status effects, it should not be in the game, if I'm being honest. Because, okay, sure, if it's like Eastern Horde being immune to fire or take less damage from fire, I can accept that. It's in their nature. But then when you have things that are immune to shock, scramble, fire, cryo, literally anything tossed at them, it's just like, why have the status in the first place? Why not just create a counter to whatever that thing is? Because slapping an immune label on them is just lazy design. And that's something I want to see fixed. I want to see status effects back. I want to see units where you can actually shut them down and then melt it with something else. Because if I'm using a support unit and I want to have them as a support and not like, okay, this is gonna be the longest survey post that I'll ever do, maybe. But there should not be like, why are these units immune to everything? Because once you remove support items, all you have left is DPS. And if tanking if tanking is an issue, DPS is a solution. If tanking is an issue, you should have support options to shut down that tanking ability and not just have pure DPS. Because once that DPS becomes outclassed by another DPS, then you got a power creep issue. Alright, apart from cheating, what needs fixing in player-based combat? Man, if I could just copy and paste what I just said into this, I'd be done. What do we need to add to improve? Alright, I see what they're getting at. In terms of fixing, literally anything that I mentioned above, plus what I'm pretty much saying now, which I'll have to add on later on, it is what's needed in this game. Fix the immunity that is all across the units. Fix uniques. Have them actually be unique and not just some random unit that is either going to be the worst thing known to mankind or, well, you can't exactly say they're the best thing known to mankind because, like, some of them are niche. Like Darkstorm, that thing is goated, but it won't flatten the base for you. Perseus, or not Perseus, Proteus, great support and damage unit, but when that damage fell off, it still had its support functions. That was goated. It didn't destroy a whole base for you, it added to what you needed. And that's something that's needed. You don't need pure damage, you need supports that can add more to what you need. It enhances your fighting capabilities and isn't just, oh, let me just deploy this one unit, destroy like half the space with that one platoon on Ruby, or just click on a bunker and then another one, and then have those be destroyed, and then send in the main platoon, which is pretty much just gonna be supposedly pure uniques, but I don't know what it is in this current age. I don't know what's the best at the moment. I would hope uniques are viable, but hey, I'll find out in the coming weeks or month. Who knows? And then improvements. Oh my goodness, there's so much that needs to be improved. Because I'm thinking about the newer players and the older players in the overall state of combat. The range, the range being way too high is a massive issue. It needs to be toned back a ton, if I'm being honest. Range back then, I don't remember what it would be, but I'm pretty sure 300 was like mind blowing range. It's like you got all that space to work with. But now everything has like 700 range. That takes up the entire map. Either expand the base, expand, yeah, expand the base layout so that you have more areas to deploy from and not just getting killed on spawn. Reduce range overall and have it so that you're not getting blown up on spawn by literally every single thing that exists. Remove immunity, because that is alright. Some platforms they can have immunity, like the insulated platforms. They're built for that. But when you give inherent immunity just because it's a better version of the standard version, you got issues there. A lot of issues. Because then that. Okay, so Generation 2 platforms and buildings, you upgrade them. Yeah, that's cool. But you also have some of the regular ones. But the thing is, Generation 2 buildings are now the standard. They shouldn't be the standard, but should have been an option. Especially when you have things where you have these new turrets coming in. What do they need? Generation 2 platform. Can you use the Generation 1 platform? No! Gotta upgrade. New turret. Generation 2 platform. Can I use the Generation 1? No! Generation 1 is no longer supported. If you're not on Generation 2, hey, good luck, because Generation 1 platforms are at least paper at this point. Generation 2, you'll have paper until you start upgrading those. We don't have advanced material storage yet. Hey, good luck on trying to upgrade. This is gonna be a nightmare for you, buddy. There is a lot that they need to improve for PvP. I don't know if those new PvP buildings help the player at all, but as far as I'm concerned, PvP now is way different to how PvP was way back then. It's more of a spam era rather than tactical era. But hey, that's just my take. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't PvP'd in a long time. I don't know if I want to get back into PvP unless they improve a crap ton of aspects with it. Don't know if I want to touch Warpath. Don't know if I want to touch Sector Breach. Because, like, those new units, they look cool. Some of them, it's a hit or miss. Then they're only attack only. Can't really put them in your base unless it's in, like, storage. Last stand. I don't think there should be units that are exclusive to just one thing. Uniques, I'm fine with being exclusive because you don't want to see like a Dark Storm as you're attacking a base. That's like the weirdest thing possible. And it's not like you got many counters to deal with the Dark Storm to begin with. But defending against the Dark Storm, if they had turrets that could actually do something against it, or units that could do something against it instead of bunker, then that's a whole different story. Because then that Dark Storm still strong, but that Dark Storm still has weaknesses that you have to keep in mind of. What motivates you to attack other players? The challenge. That's a nice thing to have. But when there's no balance, it's not really like a challenge. You're not fighting the challenge of a person's well-designed base. You're fighting the challenge of how aids the units are and how aids the placement of the bunkers are. Like there's aids bunker placements where it just blasts you into smithereens. Then there's aids bunker placements because they actually place them in a spot that is actually worthwhile. Not just because of the unit that they have, but because it has an impact. It has a strategic impact on where it is and the units that are in it. So even if there was a new meta unit, that thing will still have an impact where it is. Unless, say, something has anti-air, then maybe that bunker placement will be elsewhere. However, we now have like 6 bunkers. I'm pretty sure 6 or 7. That's a step up from like 5 or 4. However many we used to have, I can't remember at this point. But we have a lot of bunkers. We have a lot of turrets. Overall strength of bunkers, I believe, needs to be toned back a ton, and turrets need to be stepped up. Units turned down, buildings turned up, because units are one step of the equation, and then buildings are another. Name turrets that are actually viable. Name turrets that are actually good, because all you see are support turrets. You don't see damage turrets. You don't see avalanche. You don't see napalm. You don't see any of those ever coming back. Bloodstorm, all those faction turrets. Might as well forget about them. All this stuff are support turrets. So why don't we just get some standard turrets? Why don't we just get something that helps the buildings? Why don't we get something that boosts weaponry for the base and not just boost the unit for the base and have that as the main component? Because units being good in a base, sure, that's one thing. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be the main thing in a base. Why are the units more of a threat than the turrets? Why is the turret not a threat? Why are all these support turrets backing up the heavy turrets? We need a standard turret that can do something, that can compete against heavy turrets and give you options. Whether it's having an anti-air function, something that does more damage towards the ground, towards infantry, medium armor. There's a whole lot of stuff that they can do with turrets. Come back with the cryo turret, something new. Maybe not a slow turret, because, okay, another ant. Immunity to slow. Not slow. Immunity to cryo. And then they come out with a slow feature. Why? You don't see slow used against air. You just never see that. You see Chronos with slow. Why not just cryo? It's a crazy concept. Cryo doesn't affect uniques. That's fine. Why? They're uniques. They can be as built up as they need to be to function. However, they can't be the main thing for everything. Getting resources, no. Crushing my enemies. I don't have enemies. Never really had enemies. I just like hitting people, seeing their bases, flex mine off, showing off. Heck yeah. Attaining A rank. Never heard of that. What is A rank? Did I miss out on something? What is A rank? I don't know, whatever. None of the above. Other. I like to be attacked, to be honest. But yeah, this was the survey that they had. Let me know what you think of the survey so far. Let me know if there's anything that I missed. But overall, they're asking some pretty decent questions, to be honest. They're asking about how to fix base, asking for improvements, talking about the cheating issue where usually in the Discord that tends to not be something mentioned often. However, they're listening. Even though they don't want to bring it up as the main topic in the Discord, they're still bringing it up in another way, which is a step forward. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna finish off or polish this survey in the meantime. Just let me know what you think. Peace.